God's Not Dead is the newest Christian movie in a year jam-packed with faith-based films, but this one doesn't go the biblical interpretation route. Instead follows the scenario of a kid named Josh Whedon, and where his atheist professor believes that God is dead, and he makes all of his students write that on a piece of paper, sign it, and turn it in order to be able to pass his class. But of course, Whedon's character, being a Christian, has to defend his faith in front of the class, the teacher, and really even to himself. But what the movie also does is that it has all these different subplots that I didn't think was going to be in the movie because they don't show it in the trailer. But there's one about a Muslim girl and her struggle to want to know Jesus Christ. There's another one about these two pastors and how they can't get their car to start, but eventually that's going to lead them somewhere where they need to be. And also one about this character who's struggling with her mom. Another one with a news reporter who's a bitter atheist, but you could tell that her main part was to just be able to have the interviews, the cameos with the Newsboys and also with the Duck Dynasty people. And even though all these little subplots are supposed to come together and all unite, none of them are really fleshed out, and when they unite, it's really not that powerful. Instead, all it does is take away from the main story, which is probably the best part of the film, if you were going to say that. But I do think that there were some good parts to the movie, and of course, there were a lot of bad parts of the movie as well. But the first thing you have to know, again, obviously, is that it is a Christian film, and just like so-called black films and Bollywood films and films of those nature, you know that they're intended for a specific audience, and they don't try to reach out to anybody else. This movie does just that. Now, I'll start off with the good things that I thought the movie had. For one, compared to a lot of other Christian films, this one is shot very well. There are some scenes with the subplots where they just completely change cameras and they're doing something completely different. But the main story is shot very well. The acting is not that bad. The way that they make the characters is another story, but the acting isn't too bad. You have Kevin Sorbo, who's playing this cartoony version of what an atheist would look like, and he does, I guess, a decent job for the most part, even though his character is completely wrong. But you have the main guy, who I know he was in Good Luck Charlie, and I know he's been in some other Disney stuff, but here, I thought that not only do they make him the most likable character, but I agree with what he was doing, because not only is it people going against him, but even the people who should be supporting him are going against him, and it's him just trying to defend what he believes. Be it right or wrong, the kid probably had the best moral standing, and where he wasn't just trying to prove to everyone and be like, you should change. It's, I believe in this, and it's up to you to decide whatever it is you believe in. But while they're having their arguments in the beginning, I thought that that was pretty entertaining. Be it if you are for it or if you are against it, it was cool to see that they were going back and forth, and sometimes he's right, sometimes the other person would stump him, and they were going back and forth for the most part until it ends again with that very cliche type way. And of course there would be different ways to look at this argument and be like, well, he should have said this or he should have said this. But of course, we know who wrote this movie, and that's where a lot of the bad things come in, because they take every bad character who's supposed to be the enemy, and they do not show the whole love your enemy, but instead make the atheist professor as bitter as he can be, Dean Cain's character as rude as he can be, the reporter's character just as angry as everybody as she can be, and all of these people being the atheists. And of course, the only way that they can find joy is if they come to God. But the way that they portray this, even if they're trying to follow this belief system, is honestly very insulting. Now, the movie does show you all these court cases at the end of the movie where they tell you, hey, you know, this scenario has actually happened. And I can believe that to a certain extent, but if that's the way that you want to present it, at the same time, you're making this guy look completely crazy, where he's like touching the student and he's doing all these crazy things. And I think that that's the biggest part where the movie suffers, because it's not reasonable for everyone. And there's actually going to be a spoiler section that I want to do to discuss how I thought it was a decent movie, and I watch Christian movies and I can see the gist of it. I don't always think that they're the best, you know, well-made movies, or that there are parts that are very cheesy, but I get the gist of what Christian movies are supposed to portray, and this one does just that. But the ending to this movie is probably one of the worst endings I have ever seen, and one of the most insulting endings I have ever seen. So if you are interested in the movie, I'm pretty sure that you will like it, because it is a person standing up for his faith. If you are completely bashing the movie, then you're gonna love bashing the movie, and I can see how both perspectives are gonna either really hate it or really like it. But the one part that I want to talk about in the spoilers in 3, 2, 1, is that when all these characters unite, and they do this final scene, not only was the whole thing just to lead up to the Newsboys. I mean, God's Not Dead is also the lead song that the Newsboys were, you know, entailing. But if it wasn't bad enough that the whole classroom, who in the beginning of the movie sold their souls away, go ahead and just repent after and believe in God after the kid gives his testimony, they decide to take the atheist professor, after every other of the characters has pretty much changed their mind and have converted, to kill him. So this Christian movie decides to kill the atheist, in hopes that they're going to get more people by killing the atheist and having on his deathbed repent, is probably one of the most insulting, uncreative, and just rude endings I have ever seen in my life. And that really is how the movie just plummets down completely, and really is all that there is to say about it. But I'm curious to see if you were able to see the movie, if you enjoyed it. I can see the aspects of people enjoying it because they are able to stand up for the faith, but at the same time you have to see how insulting the movie is and how idiotic the movie can get at times. But I'm curious to see your thoughts about it. I'm curious to see what other faith-based films you're looking forward to this year down below, and really anything having to do about movies. I'll see you guys next time.